Hi, everyone, and welcome to this special minisode of the Wine Pair podcast. I'm Joe, your sommelier of a reasonably priced wine, and this is my wife and my wine pairing partner in crime, Carmela.
Hello.
Nice, and we are the Wine Pair.
Yay.
Okay, so if you're new to the Wine Pair podcast, these minisodes are just shorter versions of the regular podcast that we put on during weeks when we might be traveling or handling other life stuff, and instead of tasting and reviewing 3 wines under $20 that are easy for you to find, which is what we usually do in our longer episodes, in these minisodes, we focus on things like wine etiquette, wine edumacation, wine tips, stuff like that.
Right.
And we try to make it fun, as you can tell. Right?
Can you get any more fun?
No, and we want to make it understandable for regular, everyday people like us. And our podcast, by the way, is recommended by Decanter Magazine, so that's nice.
That is nice.
So, Carmela, because it's the holidays, we're going to probably do a few of these minisodes or other types of episodes like interviews and that kind of stuff, because it still gives us a chance to have some fun with the people out there in listening land who are listening to us.
Right.
But it also gives us a little more time in our days to do things like shopping and cooking and, like all the cleaning of the house that I do.
Right. I've got the honey-do list all lined up for you, honey.
All that fun stuff, all that fun holiday stuff. Okay, Carmela.
Okay.
Have you ever wondered why there are all these different sizes of wine bottles? Has that ever occurred to you? Have you ever thought, why does that happen?
I think I have thought about it before, but I think you're going to tell us why, though.
I am.
Okay.
But sometimes you go to a store or a wine shop or a restaurant and they have these gigant bottles of wine.
Right, the magnums and
yeah, and the bigger, they're even bigger. Have you ever wondered,
I think
what the hell is that all about?
Should I make some guesses?
Well, not yet, because we haven't gotten there yet. And we'll also do a mini-sode pretty soon on the different wine bottle shapes. Okay. So this is about the sizes. Sometimes it's about the shape.
Bigger is always better.
I don't know about that. Sometimes it's about the size, and sometimes it's about the shape.
This is size.
It's size, not shape. Shape is a whole different thing. And you could have Peyronie's disease or something.
Here we go down that road.
Okay.
Stick with size.
That's right. Wow. Carmela, do you know what a double-sized bottle of wine is called?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You don't?
Well, I don't know.
It's called a magnum.
Oh, okay. I was going to guess that, but then I was afraid.
Do you know what? Don't be afraid. Do you know what a half bottle of wine is called?
It's called a half bottle of wine.
You're right. You're right. It's called a half or a demi.
Okay.
And did you know that there is a bottle of wine called either the Melchizedek or the Midas, and it holds 40 bottles of wine, or the equivalent of 200 glasses? There is.
Okay, so you cannot pick that up.
Yeah, well, this is one of the things we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So here's the real question, or questions. First, why are there all of these different sizes of wine bottles? And why do they vary in cost, per ounce or per milliliter? And does size actually matter?
Okay. Are you wanting some answers from me or some guesses? I have a lot. I have a lot of guesses.
Do you have any
here.
questions first?
Well, I guess they're like guesses that are questions, right?
Okay, let's do it. Whatever.
Okay, so I keep thinking to myself, okay, the big, it's do you buy big bottles of wine at Costco? Bigger is always better at Costco. Are they just...
If they sell them, sometimes they don't have them, but they're not going to have those super huge ones.
Are they budget friendly? You get more?
Interestingly enough, and we'll get to this, they're not.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting. Okay. I was thinking the same thing. Well, maybe you get more bang for your buck if you buy a bigger bottle. That's not the case.
Okay. Then I thought, what about for display? Some people just want to make a statement.
That's right.
They're having a
Look
party.
Like a big shot.
Exactly. We put magnums out for that reason. Sometimes I would think.
Well, not me.
Oh, sure.
I don't like to show off.
No, you don't like to show off your big bottle of wine, huh?
That sounds personal. Okay, you know what they say, big bottle of wine. Anyway, one thing to understand, Carmela, right from the get-go is that the size of the wine bottle does impact how long it can last, or in other words, how long you can keep it in the cellar.
If you can find room for it in your cellar.
Well, that is another issue. Okay. But the rule of thumb with wine is that the more air that gets to the wine, the shorter it's the shorter its aging time, right?
I believe that.
Air is what is the wine killer, right? And the faster it'll go past its prime,
it's like
more
a lot
air.
Of things.
Yeah, so think about this. In most bottles of wine, there's a gap between the cork or the cap of the wine and the wine itself, right? Okay. There's that little space. Right. And yes, there is actually a name for that gap.
Okay, that's weird.
I know.
Is that the same thing as like the gap from like the Doritos bag when there's like a
No,
huge
I don't think-
gap from them?
I
You
don't
open
think
it
it's
up
the
and you're
same
like,
name.
wow, it's only like 2/3 full.
And then they try and say, this unit was bagged by weight and not by volume or
Right,
whatever,
right.
just to fool you. But
Right.
no, the gap is called ullage or ullage. Yes, it really has a name. Now, in most cases, that gap is relatively small. And regardless of the size of the bottle, the amount of air in that gap is about the same, right? But comparatively, the bigger the bottle of wine, the smaller the wine to air ratio is. So that means that bigger bottles of wine can age much longer because there's a lot less air getting into contact with the wine. And so because of that, many wine collectors love larger format wine bottles, not just because they get to show off, but because they last longer and they'll pay a premium. So ironically, bigger bottles cost more. In fact, I'll get to this. Actually, I'll get to this in a second. The other reason there are different sized bottled wines is because you're right. They're considered like fun and festive and cool, right? So you look like a baller when you walk into a room with a big ass bottle of wine.
Totally.
Come on.
Totally.
They're like, who's that baller?
I mean, truly, like it is the same thing. Like when you give like one of those huge candy chocolate kisses.
Exactly.
And
You
you're
look like a baller.
Look at me. I really love you because I got you like the
big
5,000 size. So,
that's right.
the
Not a little
extra
tiny-
large.
That's right.
So I can see that.
Yeah. So, but also now there are, like you said, there are a few downsides. So first, storing these big ass wine bottles is hard, right?
problem.
Because most wine cellars and most wine racks are made for standard size bottles. That's what they're called. They're 750 milliliters. So anything bigger than that, even sometimes things that are smaller than that, like don't fit really well. And the second reason is that, and which you already said, as the wine bottles get bigger, they get heavier and harder to pour. And so how the hell do you pour a bottle of wine that holds 40 standard
ridiculous.
bottles?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I don't. Do they actually fill that with wine?
Yes, it is filled with wine.
How do they have like a little dispenser thing? That
Don't know. I don't know, and we'll probably never know. But do you want to talk about what these different bottles are named and their different sizes?
I'd love
Would that
to.
be
I
exciting and
can't
thrilling?
wait. Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
And I got a lot of this from a great article from Wine Enthusiast that I've put a link to in our show notes. But the first one is a split or a piccolo. That is 187.5 milliliters. It's a single glass of wine. It's a quarter of a standard bottle. It's almost exclusively for sparkling wine. So when you see that little bottle, it's called a split.
I love those.
Then the half is what you would expect. It's a half bottle of wine, 375 milliliters, 2.5 glasses of wine. It's good if you want to drink alone. Like I like to drink alone, so it's good for that.
Whoa. But you don't have to drink
don't
alone
have
with
to.
it.
You
No.
don't have to.
I mean, goodness. You got a half bottle of wine the other night,
I did.
actually.
I did. And you had a tiny sip, but I got it because I knew you weren't going to drink very much wine.
Right.
So I was
And
like,
you thought you weren't drinking alone, but you were having it to yourself.
that's right. Mostly. That's right. Now, there is a half liter, also called a Jenny, that holds 500 milliliters. So that's a 2/3 of a standard bottle or 3 glasses of wine. And it's used a lot for sweeter wines like Tokai or Sauterne. So sometimes you'll see that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that often, though.
Then there's the standard wine, 750 milliliters, 5 glasses of wine of 5 ounces, right? Basically. Then there is a liter. There is a liter bottle, and it holds about 1 1/3 standard bottles or 7 glasses of wine. And these are getting more popular, especially in Europe. And I have a few liter bottles, like I have a few liter bottles of Barolo, but they're not very common. Then we talked about the Magnum. It holds 2 standard bottles. It's 1.5 liters, 10 glasses of wine. This is the collector's favorite. They love it. Your dad,
I
he
know.
loves his Magnums. Like he'll pay for the Magnums
Right. Like
because
there
they
might be
age
a
longer.
Magnum on the table this week.
Very likely.
Very
will
soon.
Be. And in
anyway,
a
with
big,
the
you're
holidays.
right. Any big celebration, probably come out. Now we're getting into the bigger sizes. The next size is the Jereboam or the double magnum. It's 3 liters. It holds 4 standard bottles or 20 glasses of wine.
Holy
and it's
cow.
named, the Jereboam is named for the first biblical king of the northern kingdom of Israel. And don't ask me why, but from here on out, a lot of the bottles are going to be named after kings in the Bible.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Do they drink a lot of wine?
I think they did
They
drink a
must
lot. I think they
have,
drank a lot of wine in the Bible.
Wow. Yes, they did.
Yeah,
They
okay,
did.
They did, yeah. I mean, Jesus, come on.
Right,
Jesus,
I mean,
his first miracle was making water into wine.
Thank
For God's
God.
sake. That's why we
Thank
like that guy.
God.
T-God. Okay. Now, a Rehoboam or a Jeroboam in Bordeaux, don't ask me why, is 4.5 liters. It holds 6 bottles of wine or 30 glasses. And these are usually used by big champagne houses for big bottles of sparkling wine. Then there's the Methuselah or the Imperial. It holds 6 liters or 8 bottles or 40 glasses of wine. There's the Salamander, which is 9 liters or 12 bottles of wine.
Okay, now what are we looking at? Like,
it's huge.
At this point, you're not carrying these.
No, that's a case of wine. It holds a case of wine in one bottle. 60 glasses. Then there's the Balthazar. It's 12 liters, 16 bottles of wine or 80 glasses. This was named after one of the 3 wise men. The Nebuchadnezzar is 15 liters. It holds 20 standard bottles or 100 glasses of wine. And this was named for the longest ruling king of Babylon, not for the ship in the Matrix that Morpheus drives.
Oh,
or owns or whatever. Okay.
Thanks for
We're almost
clearing that
done.
up.
We're almost done. Okay.
There are more?
There's more. There's the Melchior. It holds 18 liters, 24 standard bottles. That's 2 cases of wine or 120 glasses. It's also named for one of the 3 wise men. Why only 2 of the 3 wise men got a bottle named after them? I don't know.
He was on the wagon.
He was on the camel, but yes, on the wagon. Okay.
Right.
Then there is the Solomon. That's 20 liters, 26 standard bottles of wine or 130 glasses. The Sovereign, which is 26 liters or 35 standard bottles of wine.
Where are these bottles?
Or 175 glasses of wine. And this one was created recently by Tattinger in 1988, relatively recently.
For us, that's like just yesterday.
That's right. But it was made for the launch of what was then the world's largest cruise liner called the Sovereign of the Seas, which is why it's called the Sovereign. So my guess is they haven't made a lot of them. Okay, just 2 more. The Primate,
2 more?
Yeah, the Primate or Goliath is 27 liters. That's 36 standard bottles, 3 cases of wine in one bottle.
Crazy.
It's 180 glasses, sorry. And then the Melchizedek or the Midas, as I already said, is 30 liters. It's 40 standard bottles of wine or 200 glasses.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's amazing. So why you would need that much wine or where you would store that big of a bottle.
Maybe at our wedding. We did have 500 people at our wedding. We needed a few of those.
We could have used a Melchizedek.
Yeah. Next time when we get married.
We're getting married again?
Yep. The next time we get married.
Wow. To each other or to somebody else?
We'll see.
Oh boy. And then where do you keep those bottles, right?
Right. I mean, they would fill up this room.
And where do you even find the wine bottles? Like, who makes these wine bottles?
What does this wine really taste like?
I don't know, but it's probably going to age really well.
And I want to see the cork.
It's a big ass cork, too.
Can you imagine if it was a screw top?
Oh, that's a big ass screw cap.
Wow.
Woo! Okay, and now you asked about this. In most cases, you will pay more per liter or ounce for both smaller bottles and larger bottles.
I knew that about the smaller bottles.
Yeah.
You always think, I'm not going to have that much. So I'm going to, but you end up
But you pay for it.
Yeah.
You pay for it. Now, part of this is due to scarcity. They make fewer of them, supply and demand, right? They make fewer of them, so they're going to cost a little bit more. I think the smaller ones, they kind of stick it to you because it's like, hey, buy a whole bottle or you're not. Okay, I can charge you a little bit more because you just want less wine.
Right.
But again, the larger bottles are considered more collectible. So they're not made for the average wine drinker. They're made for people with a lot of money who like to collect wine and are dummies who want to pay a lot for wine.
Right. They are certainly not reasonably priced.
No, that's not us. We wouldn't do that.
No.
We would only buy a large bottle if we felt like it was a good deal.
Right.
Yeah, that's a bargain.
Exactly.
So if you want to see sources for our content today and get links to learn more, you can come to our website, look for this Minisode, and then open up the show notes. But that's it for this Minisode, Carmela.
That was very interesting.
Yeah, you can check out. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, you can check out our other minisodes to learn more, which you can find on our website or on your favorite podcast service. You can follow us on Instagram at The Wine Pair Podcast, or you can visit our website at thewinepairpodcast.com. And in any of those places, you can reach out to us directly, and you can also send us an email at joe@thewinepairpodcast.com, and we'll have our show notes on the website, and we'll include links to articles. And on the website, you can sign up for our fabulous, amazing, world-renowned newsletter.
Wow.
So follow us, subscribe, give us a nice rating and review.
And if you own any of those, send us a picture of those huge ones.
We would love to see it. We'll post it on Instagram.
I would love to see and know how many people actually are investing in these bottles.
Yeah, we will. If you have anything magnum or larger, then you send it to us. We'll post it on Instagram. We promise. But we'll see you next time, and we want to thank you again for listening. And remember, life is short, so stop drinking shitty wine.
Bye.
And the happy ending.